Guys, my mother-in-law is crazy and I need some advice. First off, my husband and I have just returned home after spending an amazing month in Japan. The trip was everything we had imagined and hoped for. We had been dreaming about visiting Japan for a very long time, and finally we got to experience it for ourselves. From the bustling streets of Tokyo to the peaceful temples and beautiful countryside, every part of the trip felt magical. We tried new foods, explored historic sites, and immersed ourselves in the culture in a way we had only ever pictured before. Then, as soon as we walked through the door of our apartment, we were completely stunned. The place looked entirely different from what we remembered. It was as if someone had taken everything we knew about our home and redesigned it while we were away. The furniture, the colors, the layout, everything had changed, and we weren't expecting it at all. It was a shocking, almost surreal moment, standing there and realizing that our familiar space had been transformed while we were gone. We were completely taken aback. The huge old couches that we loved and felt so comfortable on were gone, replaced by some beige ones that looked stiff and uninviting. All of our travel mementos that had decorated the walls, the little souvenirs, photos, and keepsakes that reminded us of the trips we had taken together, were nowhere to be seen. Our living room, which had always been bright, full of color and full of personality, had been transformed into a space of beige and white. The whole place felt completely different, and it was immediately clear that this new style was not at all what we liked or what felt like home to us. I walked into our bedroom in complete horror, and it had been transformed just like the living room. Our bright, colorful bed sheets, duvet, and pillows, the ones that had always made the room feel cozy and full of life, were gone. In their place was everything in a pale baby green color that felt cold and unfamiliar. The pictures we had carefully chosen and hung on the walls, the ones that made the room feel personal and meaningful, had been replaced with random scenery photos that didn't mean anything to us. It was like walking into a stranger's room instead of our own, and I felt a mix of shock and disbelief. I clenched my fists in anger, my heart racing, and turned to look at my husband. He looked just as furious and stunned as I felt. There was no doubt in either of our minds about who could have done all this. There was only one person who would have taken it upon herself to completely redo our apartment while we were away: his mother. The thought made my blood boil. You see, my mother-in-law has been a pain to live with since day one. If I didn't love my husband enough, I would have already beaten up mother-in-law by now, because she just loves to test my patience every day. She's the kind of woman who acts like she knows what's best for everyone, even when she only knows a little about the subject. That constant know-it-all attitude made small things blow up into big fights, and it left me feeling tired, resentful, and on edge, far more than I ever expected. She will give advice about things, often in a way that feels like she's lecturing you, and if you don't take her advice, she gets upset or offended, as if you've done something personally wrong to her. It doesn't stop there. She has this habit of jumping into conversations where nobody has asked for her opinion, often changing the direction of the discussion or dominating it entirely. It can be exhausting because she acts like her view is the only correct one, no matter what anyone else thinks or feels. When my husband and I first started dating, my mother-in-law acted as if he had somehow personally wronged her just by being with me. From the very beginning, every time we met at a family gathering, she seemed determined to make things difficult. She would argue or create tension over the smallest things, as if she had a right to interfere in our relationship. On top of that, she constantly made comments about how she deserved a better daughter-in-law than me, implying in subtle and not so subtle ways that I wasn't good enough. It felt like nothing I did could ever meet her standards. And being around her during those times was exhausting and stressful. After countless arguments and fights between my mother-in-law and me, things finally reached a breaking point. My husband, seeing how toxic the situation had become, had to step in and firmly threaten to cut her off if she didn't change her behavior. That seemed to shock her into realizing the seriousness of the situation. For a while after that, she learned to keep her feelings to herself, at least outwardly, and stayed mostly quiet during family interactions. But it was clear that underneath it all, she still harbored resentment towards me for reasons that only she fully understood. Even though she didn't show it as openly anymore, the tension never completely went away, and we all knew it was just under the surface waiting for an opportunity to bubble up again. On our wedding day, my mother-in-law pulled up wearing a white dress. It was as if she thought it was her last chance to try to disrupt our relationship and take attention away from me on our special day. Naturally, this was completely unacceptable, but my husband didn't hesitate for a second. He calmly but firmly told her she couldn't stay and made her leave. Of course, she put up a fight, complaining and arguing as she always did that she had every right to be there at our wedding and that it was all my fault why he was distancing himself away from her. But he didn't waver. He stood by me, making it very clear that he was on my side, and in that moment he showed his mother exactly where she stood. It was one of those moments that solidified my trust in him completely. He would always protect me no matter what. After her humiliating exit from the wedding, my mother-in-law finally seemed to realize there was nothing she could do to break us up. All her plans, all her attempts to interfere had failed completely. Eventually, she even went so far as to formally apologize for her behavior, acknowledging that she had crossed the line. But the truth is, I have never truly forgiven her. Some things, once done, leave a mark that doesn't just disappear. I've learned that people like her don't really change. Snakes don't change their colors. Because of that, I always keep her at a safe distance, making sure she never gets too close or has the chance to manipulate or hurt me again. It's a boundary I've had to enforce for my own peace of mind. Recently, my mother-in-law and father-in-law finally got divorced, which honestly came as no surprise to anyone. We had all known for a long time that it was inevitable. Being around her had clearly made him miserable, and he rarely seemed happy when they were together. During the divorce proceedings, my mother-in-law did everything she could to turn the rest of the family against him. She tried to blacklist him, spreading rumors and lies to make it look like he was the bad person in the situation. She told people that he was cheating, that he was abusive, and came up with many other false stories to make sure he looked guilty. It was exhausting and upsetting for everyone involved because it felt like she was determined to destroy his reputation and isolate him from the people who cared about him. Of course, anyone who actually knew my father-in-law could see through her lies immediately. People trusted him, didn't believe a single word that came out of her mouth. He, on the other hand, didn't waste time trying to explain or defend himself to anyone. He just focused on separating from her and moving on with his life. Since the divorce, father-in-law seems to be doing really well, finding peace and stability that had been missing for years. My mother-in-law, however, has not fared as well. Her manipulations and lies may have caused chaos for a while, but in the end, it seems she's left struggling while he has been able to start fresh. Ever since the divorce, my mother-in-law has been in our lives more than ever, and not in a good way. She shows up almost constantly, insisting on spending time with my husband and me, claiming that she has no one else to be with. She doesn't seem to respect the boundaries of our life together. Even when my husband and I plan a quiet date night or an event that's meant to be just for the two of us, she finds a way to insert herself. She insists on joining, saying that she's lonely and needs company, as if that somehow gives her the right to disrupt our time together. It's exhausting and frustrating because she acts as if her feelings should always come first, regardless of what my husband and I have planned. When we started planning our trip to Japan, my mother in law immediately began insisting that she wanted to come along. She didn't just casually express interest, she acted like it was her right to join us. Even before the trip, she started trying to interfere with our plans, pressuring me to change our day-to-day itinerary to fit what she wanted to do. It felt like she wanted to control the trip rather than letting it be an experience for just me and my husband. Mother-in-law demanded we swap a visit to a small traditional Japanese temple we had been looking forward to for hours in a serene countryside town and instead spend a whole day at a crowded shopping mall because she likes shopping and insisted that going to a temple was boring. Mother-in-law also wanted us to skip an evening sushi class that we had booked so that she could visit some random bakery she had read about online, insisting just because she doesn't like sushi, we shouldn't bother to go also. It was ridiculous because this trip was meant to be about me and my husband experiencing something we had dreamed of for years, not about catering to her endless and often impractical demands. On top of everything else, my mother-in-law expected us to pay for her entire trip, her plane ticket, hotel stay, meals, everything else. Now, my husband and I do quite well financially, but covering all of that for a third person in a foreign country was just too much. It wasn't even as if she didn't have money of her own. Clearly, she just wanted a free vacation at our expense. I tried to be patient, but there was a limit. Eventually, I reached the end of my rope and firmly put my foot down. I told her very clearly I didn't want her to join us on the trip. Her reaction was exactly what I feared. She acted as if I had somehow offended her entire family line by denying her request. It was over the top, dramatic, and completely unreasonable. But it made me realize that no matter what we did, she would always try to make our lives about her. This resulted in a huge fight between me and my mother-in-law. She claimed that I was being selfish and cruel, as if I had no consideration for her feelings at all. She insisted that it was unfair to leave her out of such a life-changing experience and accused me of deliberately trying to humiliate her. She even went so far as to say that I was trying to come between her and my husband, painting me as the villain in a story that only existed in her mind. I calmly but firmly told her that this trip was about me and my husband, something we had planned and saved for years, and that it was not her place to control or dictate it. Of course, she didn't take it well and then went complaining to my husband about how she was this poor, lonely, divorced mother being cruelly excluded by me and expected him to take her side against me. However, my husband firmly told her that if I wasn't comfortable having her join us, then he would not force me to accept her in the trip. He made it very clear that our vacation was something we had planned together. No one else had the right to interfere with it. After hearing that, she resorted to crying, crocodile tears, really, but she didn't dare argue any further. It was obvious that she realized she couldn't push either of us on this, at least not without causing a major conflict. Even though she tried to make it look like she was hurt and disappointed, we both knew it was just another attempt to manipulate the situation, and we refused to let it work this time. My husband and I went on our trip, and for an entire month we had an absolutely beautiful time. Every day felt like a dream, exploring new places, trying new foods, and finally experiencing something we had been planning and imagining for years. But that happiness was completely shattered the moment we returned home. Walking into our apartment and seeing everything changed without our permission was devastating. It felt like someone had taken our personal space and turned it into something unrecognizable. My husband immediately called his mother to find out if she was behind the changes, and of course, she acted as if she had done us a favor. In a tone that was both smug and dismissive, she said, "Oh, do you like it? You see, I've always hated how your home looked. It felt like a poor man's house, so I decided to spruce it up and uplift your interior." Her words were infuriating, as if she had the right to completely take over our home and our choices. It wasn't just rude, it was a blatant disregard for our privacy, our taste, and all the effort we had put into making our apartment feel like ours. My husband was furious and demanded to know how she had even gotten into our home when we had never given her a key. That's when she casually revealed that she had copied our key a long time ago, claiming it was just for emergencies. I felt a surge of anger just hearing this. How dare she decide what counted as an emergency and use it as an excuse to invade our home? My mother-in-law, of course, didn't seem to see anything wrong with her actions. She went on to justify everything, insisting that she had done it for us, and that, since we were away on vacation, it had been the perfect time to completely change our living space. The audacity of it made my blood boil. It wasn't about helping us, it was about control, about inserting herself into every part of our lives without permission or consideration. My husband's calm finally snapped and he yelled at her, his voice shaking with anger. He demanded how she could possibly think it was okay to enter our home without permission, change everything we owned, and act like it was some kind of gift. He told her in no uncertain terms that what she did was completely unacceptable, a gross violation of our trust and our privacy. My mother-in-law reacted exactly as I expected. She flared up, throwing excuses at him, claiming that we were overreacting and that she only wanted to help. She tried to twist the situation, insisting that we should feel grateful for her thoughtfulness. But her words fell flat against my husband's fury. He refused to listen to any of it and firmly told her that boundaries exist for a reason and that she had crossed every single one of them. By the end of the call, he was so angry at her that she was finally quiet, at least outwardly, though I knew the resentment was still simmering underneath. Now, it's been a week since the confrontation, and my husband and I have completely refused to talk to my mother in law. She's been trying to reach out constantly, but not with genuine apologies or acknowledgement of the way she violated our home. Instead, she keeps insisting that we should take her actions in a positive manner, as if we should be grateful for her interference. Her attempts to spin this as some kind of thoughtful gesture only make us more frustrated and angry. On top of everything else, she has been going around telling all our relatives how she did us a favor and that we should have been grateful for it. Her reasoning is that she thought our home looked a bit too masculine for a married woman to be taken care of. In other words, she's implying that because I work outside the home and earn my own money, and because I don't fit her outdated idea of a homemaker, our house isn't good enough or properly maintained. It's ridiculous and insulting. Her comments are not only hurtful, but they also show how controlling and judgmental she really is. She can't see that our home reflects our lives and choices. It has nothing to do with her narrow vision of what a house should look like or what a wife's role should be. AITA, if I ask my husband that we permanently cut off mother in law after this incident as I can't take her drama anymore? Update 1. Wow, I didn't expect this post to blow up like it did. I've been reading all your comments and I wanted to answer some of the most common questions people have been asking. 1. Did your mother-in-law really come into your apartment without permission? Yes, she did. My husband asked her how she got in. She casually admitted that she had copied our key a long time ago, just for emergencies. It's hard to describe the mix of anger and disbelief I felt hearing that. She basically took it as her right to enter our home whenever she wanted. 2. Why didn't your husband stop her before? My husband's always tried to manage the situation carefully. In the past, he set boundaries and she mostly complied, but this time she went completely overboard while we were on vacation. He immediately confronted her as soon as we found out, and he's been firmly backing me up throughout this whole ordeal. 3. Did she apologize for changing your apartment? Not genuinely. She tried to justify her actions, saying she did it for us and that it was the perfect time because we were away. She's also been going around telling relatives how she supposedly did us a favor and that we should have taken it positively. There hasn't been a real acknowledgement of wrongdoing, which is part of why we're still not talking to her. 4. What about your husband? Does he support you? Absolutely. He's been on my side the entire time, from the Japan trip arguments to confronting his mother about the apartment. He's shown that he's willing to protect our home, our privacy, and our life together. I'm extremely grateful for that. 5. Are you planning to let her back into your home? Not anytime soon. Right now, we're keeping our distance. She's constantly trying to contact us, but we've made it clear that until she genuinely apologizes and respects our boundaries, she won't have access to our home or our lives in the same intrusive way. 6. How has this affected your relationship with your husband? Honestly, it's strengthened it. Dealing with her has forced us to communicate clearly, set boundaries, trust each other completely. The whole situation is exhausting and frustrating, but it's also shown that we're a strong team. 7. Did you ever consider letting her help with the apartment because she meant well? Honestly, no. Even if she truly thought she was helping. It's not about intentions, it's about consent. Changing someone's home without asking is a huge violation of trust. Our apartment reflects our tastes and lives, not hers. There's no good intention that can erase the fact that she completely disregarded our boundaries. 8. Why didn't you just call the police when you found out she'd been in your home? We considered it briefly, but it felt extreme and we wanted to handle it within the family first. My husband confronting her and making her aware that what she did was unacceptable seemed like the better first step. That said, the fact that she copied our key without permission is absolutely serious. It's not something we'll ever take lightly. 9. How did your relatives react when mother-in-law told them she did you a favor? Most people who know us well saw right through her story. Some relatives were annoyed or upset at her audacity. Others avoided taking sides, which was fine by us. We aren't trying to win anyone over, we just want her to stop meddling in our lives. 10. Have you ever thought about changing locks or taking legal action? Yes, we thought about it. We will be changing locks so she can never enter our home without permission. Legal action is also on the table, though we're hoping it won't come to that. The point is, she has already broken trust, and we're making sure it can't happen again. 11. How does your husband feel about all this now? He's frustrated and furious too, but he's also calm and strategic. He's made it clear that he will support me and protect our home while not letting her manipulations control our lives. Honestly, it's reassuring to know that we're on the same page completely. 12. Are you worried mother-in-law will continue to do something like this again? Absolutely. Once someone has shown they're willing to cross your home and manipulate your life, you have to be extremely cautious. We're prepared to reinforce limits, even if it means escalating further if she ever tries something similar again. Update 2. It's been a month since my last update, and things have escalated again. After we had been ignoring her completely, refusing her calls, messages, and attempts to reframe what she did, my mother in law decided to show up at our house unannounced. It was the weekend, so she knew very well that both my husband and I would be home. The moment she walked in, you could see the shock on her face. We had spent the last couple of weeks undoing a lot of the changes she had made, moving furniture back to where it belonged, replacing some of the decor she insisted we needed, and adding our personal touches to make our apartment feel like ours again. Her expression said it all. She could not believe we had the audacity to change things back. She immediately started asking why we had done this, acting as if she had some right to dictate how we live. The audacity of this woman. We calmly told her that the apartment belongs to us, that it reflects our taste and lifestyle, and that her designs, while perhaps well intentioned in her mind, were never what we wanted. She tried to argue, insisting that she improved our home, but it was clear she hadn't anticipated that we would take back control of our own space. She turned to my husband and started to say that everything she had done, the redesign, the rearrangements, even copying our key, had been done with him in mind, that she was thinking of his comfort and that she never expected us to treat her so poorly. Then, as if rehearsed, she went into her usual pity act, complaining about how lonely she had been these past couple of weeks and how no one ever checks up on her. It was infuriating. She was trying to paint herself as the martyr and make him feel guilty for standing with me, as if our refusal to accept her intrusions meant we didn't care about her at all. But my husband wasn't falling for it, regardless of her manipulation. He calmly told her that being thoughtful doesn't give anyone the right to invade our home or dictate our lives. He reminded her that she had crossed every boundary and no amount of loneliness or manipulation could justify what she did. Watching him set those boundaries so firmly was incredibly reassuring. She realized that her usual tactics weren't going to work, at least not now, and for the first time in a long while she seemed unsure of how to respond. Then she turned to me, raising her voice, and asked if she apologized, would I finally let go of my grudge and allow her son to begin his life. I was completely taken aback. I couldn't believe the audacity of what she was saying. She leaned in, pointing her finger at my face, and began her tirade. She claimed that I was to blame for everything that had gone wrong, that I had broken up the family, and that I was some kind of curse on everyone's lives. According to her, ever since I had come along, all the bad things had started happening. It was shocking, outrageous, and infuriating all at once. Her words weren't just manipulative, they were designed to make me feel guilty for existing in her son's life and for protecting our home and our boundaries. I stood there stunned for a moment, but then I forced myself to stay calm. There was no way I was going to let her intimidate or guilt trip me. This is when I finally gave it right back to her. I told her that if she truly cared so much about the home and rearing a proper household, maybe she wouldn't have been divorced in the first place. Maybe her constant control, manipulation, and drama are exactly why her marriage fell apart and father-in-law left her to never look back. I reminded her that her obsession with how other people live their lives does not give her the right to invade ours or make us feel guilty for living on our own terms. At first, she looked completely stunned, as if she hadn't expected me to push back at all. Then she started to sputter, trying to twist my words, but my husband stepped in immediately, supporting me and making it clear that she had crossed every line. For once, she couldn't dominate the conversation or manipulate either of us. Standing up to her in that moment felt empowering. It wasn't just about defending our home, it was about showing her that we would no longer tolerate her controlling, judgmental behavior. In the end, my mother in law had no choice but to leave. My husband made it crystal clear that he doesn't want her back in our lives anymore and that he would not tolerate her manipulating or intruding on us ever again. He told her firmly that our home, our relationship, and our peace of mind came first, and we were done with her nonsense. She left with her mouth open, silent for once, and it felt like a small victory to see her stunned. For now, I am glad that everything is out in the open and my mother in law knows exactly where we stand. I'm done trying to play nice with her and want her out of our lives permanently. Update 3. It has been 6 months since my last update, and a lot has changed in our lives. My husband and I have moved to a new city, completely starting fresh. The move wasn't just about a change of scenery, it was about reclaiming our lives and putting as much distance as possible between us and my mother in law. We've not only stood by our decision to cut her off, but now she doesn't even have our address. It feels liberating to finally live without the constant fear of her showing up unannounced or trying to control our home. On a personal note, I'm thrilled to share that I'm currently pregnant. This new chapter in our lives fills me with excitement and joy. My husband and I are looking forward to building a life together, creating a home that reflects our tastes, values, and love. Free from anyone else's interference. It's a fresh start in more ways than one, and it feels amazing to finally feel safe, respected, and genuinely happy in our own space. Even though the past months have been somewhat exhausting dealing with my mother in law's manipulations, my husband and I can now focus entirely on our family and our future. For the first time in a long time, our home and our lives are truly ours. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.